Hey, welcome to the channel. We hope that you enjoy today's stories and check out the chapters on the video to see all the stories for today. But before we get into this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified when we release a new video. So let's get into the video.
What was the wildest way you found out you were being cheated on?
Experience 1. My entire friend group knew about it, and I only found out after the one real homie blackmailed her into admitting it. And when she did, it was the most insincere crap ever.
It's no big deal, everyone else thinks it's okay.
And stuff like that. Suffice it to say, I got my butt out of that relationship and friendship group really quick. Experience 2. She didn't realize that her iPhone messages were also synchronized to her Mac, which I was using to stream movies on. I saw text popping up with her writing to her ex about how she loved taking his load on her face. I just packed up my stuff and left. Experience 3. Her other boyfriend, whom I didn't know existed, and I had a mutual friend who put 2 and 2 together and told me. I said I wanted to meet him, so he called him over. We talked out some things and then called her together at my suggestion. Good times were had by all minus one. Experience 4. He apparently wrote an address wrong and the love letter he wrote was returned to our home. It was a great way to come back from vacation. Experience 5. He was drunk at his 21st, and while joking around with his friends he started listing off all the women he'd slept with in the last year. I was standing right there, and we'd been dating for 2 years at that point. Experience 6. One of her friends was a photographer and wanted to do tasteful nudes which apparently include penetration. And multiple days of getting the right shot. We had a shared Google Drive, which her friend didn't know we shared. Experience 7. She demanded to read all the messages on my phone. I said no problem, but only if I could read the messages on hers. She had forgotten to delete a message from a guy saying,
"All we ever do is smash. Can't we hang out sometime?"
There was nothing on my phone. Experience 8. My 9-year-old son told me that there were strange men in the house when I was away working. She'd been at it for years. It was horrible to deal with at the time, but honestly, it's such a relief to be rid of such a toxic mess. Experience 10. Date night was canceled day off. I decided to make it a guy's night to see the new Marvel movie at the time. As we entered, I saw her sitting in the theater snuggling up with a guy. Our seats were a few rows back, saw them kiss a couple of times. When we all left at the end of the movie, they were exiting their aisle as we walked down the stairs. She absolutely froze when she saw me. Blocked her on everything while I'm in the parking lot. Experience 11. I was visiting a dying relative in the hospital so could not attend some stupid college party he and his roommate organized. I told him I couldn't go and asked him if he could come over later after visiting hours in the hospital because I knew my relative would die soon and I really just needed someone to be there with me. He said he probably wouldn't be able to, as he needed to help his roommate with party preparations, but would come over later if they finish early. The next day I saw pictures of him with his ex in his lap, kissing, uploaded the previous night by his roommate. The roommate even knew we were dating, he was just too drunk to realize he added me as a friend a week earlier on Facebook and I would see the pictures. Experience 12. Not me but my dad. His girlfriend at the time had been cheating on him with his friend, who didn't know they were in a relationship. My dad found out when his friend told him he was going to propose to her. Experience 13. Too recent to relive, but here's how it went. Got a random text on Insta asking if I am OP and new ex responded by saying yes. She literally replied saying,
Congrats, your girlfriend is sleeping with my boyfriend.
followed by a barrage of screenshots she had gotten from her boyfriend's phone. Experience 14. Not really wild, but my ex-wife and I owned a small business together. One day I noticed a strange email address on the office computer. Her first name and a different last name. I realized that email was still logged in, so I took a peek. I found 2 years worth of emails between my ex and some dude she dated before me. So, I printed out every email and had it bound in a binder ready to present to my divorce lawyer. Experience 15. Wife, soon-to-be ex, was in rehab and started smashing someone. She got out and told me she was going to a meeting. Suddenly, I remembered I could track her car because I pay for the Lexus Inform app. She was at a hotel. Experience 16. After his company Christmas party, I stayed over at his place. Got up the next morning and came downstairs to find his girlfriend cooking breakfast for him. Needless to say, she and I were both pretty shocked. Edited for spelling.
Do you like listening to these stories? Do you want to hear more of them? Then click that like button, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And check the description for links to more videos and interesting stories.
Experience 17. Broke up with me, and as I was going through deleting her socials, I noticed a post she made on the Snap story that was her and a guy with a post saying "with my king." The post was made 2 hours ago and had only broken up an hour ago. Experience 18. Came home off a deployment. Now, ex-wife was acting really weird, but I figured it was because I had been gone for a year and everything was just taking time to get reacquainted. About 3 days after I returned, I had a notice from my unit stating my vehicle had 3 tickets at another base. We were in Germany, a few hours away in the past few months. When I went in to find out what the deal was, all 3 had photos attached to them for speeding through a checkpoint. All 3 had my wife and some other guy. She was kissing him in the 3rd pic. He was driving my car. Experience 19. On my birthday, I was with my girlfriend, and I passed out early since I had a long shift that day, and I had to drive 2 hours to get to her place. Woke up in the middle of the night, went outside to get a smoke, and saw her smashing her ex in his car in the parking lot. Experience 20. I was out with this girl I'd been with for a few months. Went to a nice restaurant for dinner and stopped at a local dive later to hang with mutual friends and coworkers. I went into the men's room later to see her legs under a stall and heard a coworker's voice saying, "Suck that D." Left the bathroom, went directly to the bartender and had her split our check and paid mine and bounced like freaking Tigger. Game over. My dumb self loved her. Experience 21. I went on a 2-week holiday, and when I returned, he was acting really strange. I tried to ask him what he was doing wrong and why I was acting off. He started an argument with me, told me I was too young and insecure, asked me to leave, and didn't want to see me again. I left sobbing, totally confused. 9 months later, I see him walking through the city with his ex and a newborn baby. Ah. Now I understand. Edit. Thank you so much for all the love and the laughs you've given me about it in the comments. I was 18 and he was older, so of course I was smitten. It stung at the time, but I got over it. It's a funny story I tell at the bar every now and then. He did me such a favor. I'd have probably gotten stuck in my hometown if I'd stayed with him. Life is so short, throw yourself at it and appreciate every feeling you get. Experience 22. His sister kept calling me Annie, and my name is Andy, short for Andrea. I corrected her a few times, but I didn't care for her at all. So, after I ignored her since I thought she was trying to be obnoxious. We only saw her once a week or so. Then I find out after almost a year that he was cheating. Only I was the mistress because he had been with Annie for 3 years and they had a child together. I still don't know if his sister was calling me Annie to laugh behind my back or to make him uncomfortable, prob both. It must have been hilarious to her. Anyway, he used to drive my car all the time, and one day I was out running errands and came out of the store to find a woman with her toddler standing by the car. I asked her if I could help her and she said no, I'm just trying to find out what store my boyfriend is in, this is his car. So yeah, we both learned a lot that day. We hung out all day together comparing stories of times he was unreachable. Then we confronted him together. He walked into her apartment and sat down on the couch with a beer, before noticing I was standing there with her in the kitchen. He said nothing, just put the beer down, got up and left, ignoring both of us as we peppered him with questions. This was about 13 years ago, and I haven't spoken to him since. She stayed with him. She was 6 months pregnant the day I met her / found out about her. Experience 23. Was married. It happened a week or so after my 2 weeks R&R, was in the middle of a 12-month deployment to Iraq. Long story short, I hadn't cheated on her, but I sure as hell got diagnosed with an STD a week or so after I returned back to Iraq. We finalized our divorce a couple of months later while I was still deployed. Experience 24. He sent me a pic of the dog while I was away with a text that said, "Look how cute she looks." Like 3 weeks later, I went back to the photo to show a friend, and upon looking at the photo again, I noticed a pair of women's boots in the background by the door. Experience 25. He told on himself. He randomly called me saying why I messaged his ex, and I was super confused because I never did and told him it was a misunderstanding. I can reach out to her to explain it's not me. He got super defensive and threatened if I reached out to her. We were done. I found it odd and reached out to clear my name, and she spilt saying he's been cheating on me as well as playing her and multiple other girls all at the same time. Turns out one of the girls made a fake account of me and reached out to her. Never found out who it was, but this is the one time I'm glad having a stalker worked in my favor, otherwise I would have never known. Experience 26. My colleague had an elaborate wedding, cathedral ceremony, hundreds of guests, to a guy she'd been with for years. She found out shortly afterwards he'd been cheating because they met this girl, who was his colleague and gym buddy, when they were walking in the park, and their 2 French bulldogs, who were noisy and protective, didn't bark at her at all. There was no reason for her to have met the dogs before, as she had never been to their house to her knowledge. So, she snooped on his phone while he was asleep, and apparently, he had been cheating for over a year and she was pregnant, and they were opening a business together, and he was leaving as soon as he had the whole thing set up. When the dust settled, the only thing she was pissed off about was the expense they and her parents had spent on the wedding. He could have called the whole thing off and saved thousands. She didn't learn though. Her second wedding was nearly as elaborate.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's stories. If you want to see more stories, check out these videos or check the links in the description for more videos. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And ring that notification bell.